Welcome back to Movies TV Mad. You can follow me on Twitter at Movies TV Mad. So, the friendship between John Barrowman, Captain Jack Harkness, and Eve Myles, Gwen Cooper, has fallen down. This relationship has broken down in real life. We're not talking about Torchwood, we're not talking about Doctor Who. Now, how do we know a private relationship between Eve Myles and John Barrowman has broken down? Well, John Barrowman has taken to social media and told anyone who's willing to listen. And I don't really understand his motives for doing that. Okay, I'm lying. I understand John's motives for doing this, and they're not very good, pure motives. He wants you, his fans, to go after her. Please don't go after Eve Myles. She's just going to ignore you. We're approaching Christmas. This is the season of goodwill, but you shouldn't be attacking other people anyway. You do not know what's happened here. Now, I'm going to hazard a guess very shortly and talk about why this relationship has broken down. And let's not forget something. When people in the industry say they're friends, it's not the same as you and me saying we're friends, because I work in the industry and I know when someone puts their arm around me and tells them I'm their friend, it's probably because they can get something from me, and probably they're not really my mate. I do have some friends within the industry that are good people, but the good people within this industry are that much. So let's not forget about that. So John has decided to air a private relationship breaking down. So why has this happened? And, you know, he's been talking a lot on social media about this. Right. First of all, before we get into the breakdown of that relationship, let me say this. John Barrowman is a very flawed individual. He strikes me as someone who likes a lot of attention. He's very old-fashioned. Look at me, aren't I amazing? But we also know that he's the kind of person who conducts himself, or who has conducted himself in a certain way on the set of Doctor Who, Torchwood, and even Arrow, in a way that you, the public, don't find acceptable. I would say this to you: there's worse conducts I've seen on the set of productions than the things John Barrowman has been accused of. But basically, it looks like John Barrowman was dancing around in the nude and doing certain other things that will be unacceptable to the public. But ultimately, this situation was dealt with, and I'm sick to death and getting triggered on Twitter of people sentencing him and judging him again and again. He's not perfect. As I say, he's a very flawed human being, as are you, and as I am as well. We're all flawed human beings that have done stuff maybe that we're not proud of. But we're private citizens. No one gives a shit what we do. So what we do doesn't get exposed, no pun intended, when we're talking about John Barrowman, of course. But yeah, nobody cares what we do. But they care what John Barrowman does. And they care about the relationship between John Barrowman and Eve Myles. You know, my fellow Doctor Who fans are very, very upset about the breakdown of this friendship. So let's talk about why this friendship has actually broken down. Well, we don't actually know because Barrowman won't tell us. But let me hazard a guess. I believe it's something to do with the business, something that's happened within Doctor Who. Let me hazard a guess that Russell T Davies wanted to bring back John Barrowman and the BBC said no. Let me hazard another guess that Russell T Davies wants to bring back Eve Myles, either in another Doctor Who spin-off, a new series of Torchwood, or even as Gwyneth from The Unquiet Dead. That character, because she's played two characters in the Doctor Who universe, Gwen Cooper and Gwyneth from The Unquiet Dead, written by Mark Gatiss. So he's obviously approached her to do something within the Doctor Who universe. She said yes, and because the BBC said no to John Barrowman returning, I think he feels this is a betrayal from Eve. Do I think this is a betrayal from Eve? No. Eve is allowed to work. She's a working actor. Eve is allowed to do this. And maybe John believes that Eve should have said no out of loyalty to him. Look, I'm just guessing. I'm just reading between the lines here. Now, I understand why John may think this is a betrayal of their friendship, but I don't believe it is. So now he's throwing her out there, calling her a traitor, basically saying, you know, that their friendship's broken down, but not giving any details. Of course, this is wrong of John. And because he's exposed this breakdown of this relationship without any context, the people who didn't like and approve of his conduct on Doctor Who, Torchwood and on Arrow are bringing that back again. So he gets retried and rejudged again and again. I don't really know what to say about his behaviour, because it's not like it's actual harassment or anything. Listen, as I say, it's behaviour that you, the public, are not used to being exposed to. Again, there's that word exposed. But yeah, listen, all I'm going to say to you about John Barrowman, and let me tell you my personal opinion about John Barrowman and Eve Myles. I love John Barrowman and Eve Myles. I love the Torchwood team. John Barrowman is one of the great discoveries from Russell T Davies. He made Captain Jack everything he was, with Russell's genius writing in the mythology for a great character. It was a great team up with Russell T Davies and John Barrowman. He was a great piece of casting. He was 38, I think, or 37 when he first played Captain Jack. So it was a very kind of, in terms of acting and making it in the industry, he was quite older than your average person making it in the industry. But it was great for John Barrowman. All of a sudden, he was this big hero in the Doctor Who universe, and he was loving it. And his confidence went to fever pitch. He is one of these people. He's kind of from the theatre, if you like. He's very performy. He's very hyperactive. He likes to be loved, and he loves it when you give him attention. But when you see him on videos, he's very, very serious. I think he's a man who does take himself very, very serious, and I think there's an ego about him. Look, so I'm not going to stand here or sit here and say to you, John Barrowman is the greatest human being in the world. I'm not saying that. None of us are, and none of us are perfect. And clearly, he's acted in a way, even with, you know, exposing the breakdown of his and Eve's friendship, in a way that he shouldn't be acting. Obviously, he's very hurt. And when John gets hurt, maybe he acts a little bit childish. And by doing this, because it's difficult, when you do this, when you're famous and you're doing this, famous people don't normally do this, expose a breakdown in a relationship, because they know when they expose this, these fans are going to attack the person on the other side of the argument. So I'm quite sure a lot of you, his fans, are now attacking Eve. Please, if you haven't, don't. Leave her alone. If you're a fan of Eve's, leave John alone. Don't get involved in this situation. It's not relevant to you, and really, ultimately, it's not going to be relevant going forward in your enjoyment of Doctor Who unless you're desperate to see John Barrowman back in Doctor Who. But if you're wondering whose fault it truly is that we may never see John back in Doctor Who or as Captain Jack Harkness again, it's you. The Doctor Who fans acting all outraged on social media, Twitter especially. John Barrowman's this, John Barrowman's that. You know, John Barrowman's the worst person in the world. You're the ones, it's your reaction that have caused this situation. You're the ones who created, you know, the reaction, the controversial reaction to it. So if you're wondering why John is never going to play Captain Jack again, most probably, it's because of you. You, my fellow Doctor Who fans, are the same people who drove Stephen Moffat off of Twitter for not liking his Series 6 arc. Now, I love Series 6 and I'm rewatching it at the moment. Now, it's true. At the time when the Stephen Moffat era was airing, I was so in love with the RTD era, I was very anti-Moffat. And I didn't like the dramatic changes he made to the series, but I was very constructive when I spoke to him on social media. But some of you drove him off the platform. And the same people now are judging and judging and judging and executing John Barrowman again and again for the same crimes when you have done just the same, or most probably much worse. So John's behaviour isn't great and it isn't right in terms of exposing a breakdown in a relationship. And I've explained why you can't be doing that on social media when you're famous, because your fans and the public will go after the other person. So what John's doing is rather toxic. As I've already said, he's not the perfect human being. Neither are you, and neither is me. So that's where it is. So I'm not here to defend John Barrowman. But I'm going to say this, I love him. I love him as Captain Jack. I will appreciate everything he's done in Doctor Who. His 5 Doctor Who Series 1 episodes, you know, his 3 episodes in Doctor Who Season 3, Torchwood Season 1 was outstanding, Series 2, you know, everything. I'm rewatching Miracle Day. I'm alternating Doctor Who Season 6 and Miracle Day because they were literally released on the same year, and I'm doing this big Doctor Who rewatch, and Torchwood and even Class will be involved in that. Unfortunately, I don't have the Sarah Jane Adventures, so I can't involve that great show in my rewatch. A little bit gutted about that. But yeah, basically, how to finish off this video is this. That John Barrowman's behaviour isn't the best, but basically taking a side here, attacking John or Eve, makes you just as bad as the person you're prejudging. This really should be a private situation. I don't know if Eve will come out about this, but I love them both. I love the whole Doctor Who team, the cast, all the cast that worked on the revival, the whole crew. I'm supportive of them all. And basically, Eve and John are part of that. I love you both. I think you're great. And actually, what I think you actually need is grabbing both of your heads and knocking them together. Sort this shit out, you two. This is stupid. And John, stop talking about this on social media. If you're upset about something, talk to Eve and either say, look, I'm never speaking to you again. You've broken my heart. Or make up, kiss and make up, one of the two. But still, stop making this an issue. Because this doesn't change anything, John. It won't change Eve's mind if she's decided to be involved in the Doctor Who universe again. Or whatever you think, whatever you think she's done. It won't change anything. 2, it won't change the BBC's mind to bring you back as Captain Jack. In fact, your conduct with exposing this breakdown in the relationship between you and Eve will convince the BBC they are right in their decision making. And 3, Doctor Who fans, if you want to see Captain Jack again, stop bitching about John Barrowman. This has been Movies TV Mad. I'm Mick, your host with the most. Just ask your girlfriends and your wives. Please like, share, comment, subscribe, hit the notification bell so you never miss this beautiful perfection. And I'll see you again in the next video. Until I see you again, goodbye, au revoir, auf Wiedersehen.